Hello and welcome to another edition of the Knots Landing After Show. I'm James Lott Jr. Thanks for listening and watching this show. Thanks to all the Knots Landing groups, the Knots Landing folks. I love you guys. The last couple episodes I put out, you actually helped me find the episodes I was talking about. You posted them. Thank you so much. I love that we are a team. We are a team. And I want to talk about this. I told you these little subjects, and there's some folks I've gotten some great reactions saying, "Thank you for doing these after shows." They're thoughts of mine of things that went on the series. Some folks got mad at me because they think the length is too short. The other folks got mad at me because they thought it was too long. So they can range from 3 minutes to 3 hours. That's how these shows are. That's what an after show is. An after show or spotlight discussion of some sort about that show. They last as long as they last. There's no length of time it has to be. So I just want to make sure I say that. So I put out what I put out. Hopefully you enjoyed. If I'm not your cup of tea, move on. I totally get it. But anyway, back to the show I'm talking about is how lightning struck twice for Karen. Now in later episodes, I'm going to talk about more about Mac and all that, but I really want to talk about the gutsy move the show made with repairing her with someone else. Because first of all, to kill off a major character, Sid, someone who started the show, was, and as we say in the business, was one of the top people on the call sheet. If you know what a call sheet is, it is every show has a call sheet. It's a sheet of what time you're supposed to be, you show up to a show, taping, recording, and it goes usually in order of the top build all the way down. So if you hear me say number one on the call sheet, number two on the call sheet, that means that person is one of the main actors on the show. Having Sid actually die, I remember watching it, I was shocked. Well, he'll get better. Car accident was crazy, but he'll get better. He'll get better. And to have Karen widowed so soon, so early in the series, it was I just had never seen it before at that time. Even daytime soap operas would take a while before they would do that, right? Except maybe all my children, Jenny and Greg. She's on a jet ski after they got married, and it blows up and she dies. So after their marriage, but mostly it's like, okay, he's number one on the call sheet. She's like one of the on the call sheet. She's up there. She's Karen. The Fairgates of this family. And then they kill him off. He's dead. So now, of course, Karen has to date again later, I'm sure. It's the soap opera later. But you never know what you're going to get in terms of chemistry. And when Kevin Dobson joined as Mac, I liked him instantly. There was something about him. I had never seen him before anything else. I don't know where he was, where he came from. But I really enjoyed his energy. And his whole tenure on the show, he could be funny, like witty. He could be totally serious. I remember he was going through his existential phase, just trying to figure things out. And I remember Karen being so upset, just like what's going on with you? She's just like, I don't know. I'm just kind of like, I'm just trying to figure stuff out. And what's the purpose of anything? What's the point of anything? And he had this interesting past with Anne and with Sumner. They had their own little past. His relationship with Paige. His relationship with Karen and Sid's kids, Michael and Eric. There was always, the other fellas. He was like Mac was like a guy's guy, but he wasn't like hyper masculine or toxically masculine. He was a guy's guy. He was like a guy you think you would meet in a cul-de-sac. And him and Karen just really worked. So lightning struck twice when she already had Sid. And now she got Mac, and the chemistry was there. The chemistry, Karen and Mac McKenzie just worked. She had many outrageous storylines throughout her time on the show. Of course, some things that were big, but Karen was always rooted and grounded in her strength. I always called Karen the Julia Sugarbaker of Knots Landing, because she was like a strong one, had opinions. The other ladies would do, they're all over the place. Karen was kind of like the one who was most steady. She went through a lot of stuff on the show. But Mac and her really worked. And it was funny because he had like we had the blonde couples, we had these couples. There's just two brunettes of a certain age. I mean, because back then they would be considered middle age, which is my age, what I am right now, I guess. Um, and they weren't afraid to show romance with them. And the thing about Knots Landing, now look about looking at it now, which was a precursor, of course, to Desperate Housewives years later. Much of the focus was on people of a certain age on this show. And they gave them full storylines. They gave them full situations, full everything. It wasn't like they were just dressing. I was even looking at Lily Mae, played by the incomparable Julie Harris, and how much of her, a lot of her story, especially when, oh God, when Joshua was alive, and that whole storyline, and her just presence during that storyline, she wasn't just a go-to and also ran. She was part of the story. And I mean, Joshua's demise, which I'll talk about in another show, of course, Alec Baldwin, which was great in that. She was right there, and she gives this monologue that's just so powerful and sad at the same time. And but I was just thinking, a lot of the characters, they had some young folks on there, but Abby and Karen and Val and Jill, well, Jill's a little younger, Val and Gary and Sumner, and they were major focuses of a show. Laura and Richard, yeah, they had the younger ones on there too, but they really did focus on folks of just, I'm just gonna say regular ages. That on some of those shows they would not give them that. They wouldn't give them storyline. We all know this. We watch, you guys watch things I watch. There are a lot of times they didn't give them. If you're past 30, you're dead. Or you're just relegated to certain types of storyline. And I just was thinking, as I'm talking to you now, going, that's not a lot. I mean, Karen had a lot of story, and her kids were grown, so she wasn't 25 or 30 on the show. And she went through a lot, and she looked good. They all look good. Abby, of course, they all look good. But Mac was the kind. I would say Mac's kind of guy. Guys wanted to be him, and ladies felt safe with him, or admired him, or flirted with him. Like he was that guy. He was that dude. But I just love that Karen fell in love again. She found love again with Mac. She had Sid, and she had Mac. And it totally worked out. And I was like, that's something that you can't script those things. Chemistry is chemistry. And so I'm glad that it was able to work out and continue to the end. I mean, they continue the whole time. They were mostly, but he also had chemistry with Anne. Him and Michelle Phillips. There was some chemistry there too. You can see why they made Paige, and having Paige around was a good thing too. It was interesting having a grown daughter, since he had no kids with Karen. Obviously, they were having kids, and then of course getting Meg, and becoming guardians of Meg. That was interesting too. But he was a true family man who could drink with the fellas, protect the ladies. He was good. It was good. I'm happy. I was happy for Karen. So I don't know. I just wanted to. But as I'm thinking about this, going, yeah, the show actually did a lot of things for people of my age group and a little younger. Is it happening better now? I guess. Like I said, Desperate Housewives came out; they were all in their 40s. So I guess that's a good point. But I'm looking at like Grey's Anatomy. This is only I don't remember how old these people are. So I was curious if they're doing better. I'm James Lott Jr. The Not Sunny Aftershow is on every streaming service you can think of. It is. It actually really is. And it's also on YouTube at JLJ Media. Thanks to all the Facebook groups. Thanks to the Twitter folks. I love you guys. And I'll be back with an episode of a Not Sunny Aftershow.